You are listening to the Marc Guzman podcast experience. Okay, our next topic is top features when you are selling your property. Now, we're going to focus specifically on rental properties and single-family homes. Brian, I know you've sold quite a few single-family homes yourself. What have you seen in trends today, in the past? What have been the most beneficial investments for people to make in their home in order to get the top dollar?
Well, going back to like all these different years, the one thing that always seems to have the biggest bang for the buck is upgrades to your kitchen. You got to remember that the family spends a lot of time there, and I can go on and on with the different types of upgrades that have taken place in kitchens throughout the years. In fact, some of them I didn't even realize they do now, like the specific pot warmer thing that they have in these houses. But that always seems to be the biggest thing.
Wine cellars.
And wine cellars. Because especially whether you're living in a small condo or you're living in a big home, that's a central place that everybody is always going to go to and use. And then, of course, the other biggest things are the different types of upgrades to bathrooms. And these different upgrades change from the type of tile, from granite to marble to Corian, and different things that have been used throughout the last several decades.
Yeah. One thing that you hear a lot is upgrade, and you've heard us talking about bulletproofing, right? And what this means is simply to just upgrade with high quality and very high durable material.
It's not a literal bulletproofing. So like bullets will still go through these things if you actually discharge a firearm within these areas.
Yeah, so it's simply just putting in very high durable material. So instead of putting carpet, you're going to put in high-end, highly durable laminate wood floors that are commercial grade, right? That handles a lot of heavy residential use. They're waterproof, and guess what? You're not going to have to be replacing the floor every time you have a tenant turnover. They look nice. They have even tiles these days. Sometimes I tell people upgrade to tile instead. They have tiles that look like laminate flooring, and it gives it a completely different texture if you're not a huge fan of laminate flooring, and they look very nice. Now,
I remember just putting in the big giant square Spanish tiles years ago was the thing, and it was a very low maintenance idea because it was so durable. But like as you pointed out, a lot of those tiles mimic wood now, and they're just as durable, but they have that hardwood look feel.
Yeah, and now that you bring up tiles, this is something where when I tell someone upgrade your flooring and they ask me for examples, I say go tile or go laminate. And when they decide to go tile, they go with square tiles. Square tiles was the trend, and that was the thing to do 20, 30 years ago. Not today anymore. No one likes the square tiles, the ceramic tiles that are 6 inches
Right.
or a foot.
Well, back then it was functional, and now it's functional and aesthetic.
Yeah, now like you actually get more bang for your buck if you go with the wood looking tiles as opposed to the square tiles, because it's modern looking, it's new, it's fresh. Not many people have seen it. Not many people even know it's tile. It's very funny to watch people see those tiles and discover them for the very first time.
Yeah.
So those are certain things you can do to upgrade. Painting. I can't tell you how many times when someone paints an entire rental property just all white, tenants walk through, they're not impressed with the white paint. It looks boring. It looks very stale. They always ask, can we paint it a different color? However, if you simply just change the paint color to something a light gray, or just give it a different classy look with white
and more
trimming.
specifically, they call them two-tone, where they
Two-tone, exactly.
They have a white general feel for the room, or an eggshell color, but then they accent it with a gray.
Yeah, when I was selling foreclosures, we did Navajo white walls with Swiss coffee trim, and it was a big hit with people buying properties because to them it felt like a model home as opposed to just standard white paint.
Yeah.
And
it's not that expensive. I mean, paint is really inexpensive, but it makes a huge big bang for appeal and the dollar.
Yeah, and then same thing with countertops, like going back to the kitchen, where a lot of people love to go back to the kitchen. I mean, for many cultures, food is a big deal. And
I think in all cultures, it's a big deal.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah. And I remember like parties where my family would have like 20 people, but it's enough food to
Well,
feed 60 people.
even for me, where I avoid spices and meal prep is a huge issue. The more counter space, the more meal preps I can prepare for the rest of the week.
Exactly. And so going back to counter space, avoid tile counters and go with Corian, quartz, granite, stone. Even granite, though. I mean, granite's gotten very cheap these days, but it's little by little going out of style. I'm seeing more people go toward Corian quartz.
Right. Well, and just to close that, all of these ideas can work not only for your single family home, but for your rental properties, and more especially for your rental properties, because if you're a landlord, you want to keep your expenses and repair costs down. And so the more you actually make bulletproof material, you put bulletproof materials into your units, the less likely you're going to have to replace them with costly turnovers when tenants leave.